Yo, what's up? What's up? What's up, friends? Welcome to the show. I haven't seen you all in a few days, but here I am. Hello, Nasty Nathaniel. It's great to see everybody. There's nobody in here. There's just three of us right now. Hopefully, I've got this set up right. Did I remember how to stream? Did I remember how to live stream? I hope so. Just hanging out here, waiting for a few people to come in. I got a short cable on my mic, so I've got to lean in. I can't lean back and talk. I've been doing some moving of things around here. I'll move that right now. What's going on, Nasty Nathaniel? Get the hell in here. What's up? What's going on? What's going on? There's Lindy. Thank God you saved me, Lindy. You're the first one in here. Nobody knows I'm going live anymore. I think I've shooken out all of the extra weight in that sense. Yeah, I've got to lean too far forward for this mic. I got to fix things up. Yeah, let me work that out. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Good to see you guys. Hi, Sky Maiden. Love and blessings to you. Hello, Chris. Man, oh man. I did have a short out on the market last night. And as why I put that out, I'm like, there's a lot of negative talk going on about Israel and Iran right now. That's the only thing I can think of contributing to this negative day. And then they bomb the shit out of them. And then the markets dropped like 30%. And I'm like, oh, fuck, that went like 100, 200%, 200x short. I'm like, God damn it. Why couldn't that have been like a $3,000 piece for me? Sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. I put like $50 out on Chainlink last night, a crypto, just because I was doing some little practicing my charting. And shit, I was going through it. I was sitting there wishing I had put it out like about 4 hours previous to that. And I'm like, boo, it's pretty risky right now. And then tanked, but things are recovering a little bit right now. Let's call it volatile in the markets. That's probably a good word for it. Things are quite volatile right now. Anyway, it's very interesting to see what the hell is going on, to say the least. How about that dude that survived? The dude in 11A, seat 11A. I was the very back seat in the business class section, just ahead of the wing on the Boeing Dreamliner. It's probably where you want to sit. Yeah, what's that, Chris? I'm a Canadian. I am. So I'm glad I've chosen to cover this case as it occurred in your geography. No, it's quite a bit away from me. I'm closer to like Cleveland and Detroit. I'm only like 45 minutes away from Cleveland, dude. I might sound like it, but no. That's Canada. Like, I mean, that's the East Coast. Look, that's like 20 hours away from me. 20 hours away from me, but yeah, it's still Canadian. It doesn't really matter. But I get it. Yeah, I was actually, we can go through that, Chris, in a little bit, because I was just doing some perusing through different places today about the case, and they were comparing it to an attempted child abduction in a place just outside Fredericton, New Brunswick, Gagetown, on Route 710, which had a woman and a guy traveling together who apparently tried to lure a child into a car using candy. I'm like, dude, that is so fucking old school, but I guess, it's still happening. Some gal with curly hair and some dude with a chin beard. And there's a police sketch of him. The child wasn't lured. He dropped his bike and ran to the nearest neighbors. And people were bringing that case up because it happened in April, I believe. just outside Gagetown, New Brunswick. There used to be a CFB Gagetown out there. Used to train helicopter pilots out there. They also used to test all kinds of Agent Orange for the Vietnam War out there, and it was a big thing for a long time. Another reminder to, and we'll want to bring that up for Google's sake. It's good to see everybody. What's going on? A quick hello to you all. Yeah, Nova Scotia. Beautiful countryside. They're out in the boondocks. But that occurred, I would say, not by road, but if you were to take just the Trans-Canada from where Gagetown is to where Pictou is, you're talking about 140 kilometers. So maybe 90 miles, 80 miles on the roads. Like as a crow flies, it's a lot closer. I was looking at it on Google Earth, and I'm like, it's possible. It's possible for sure, no doubt. But, this situation's got me spinning, and a lot of times you're your own worst enemy psychologically. I mean, you want to believe so bad that somebody didn't do anything bad to their children in this circumstance. Or I was juggling around in my mind earlier whether or not they were hiding the child away or hiding the kids away in another reserve, in another place, and they're just leading on. One of the Micmac elders brought that up, and it got me thinking. I've got some things prepared in the background, just a little breakdown of where we are in the case to give it some respect in that circumstance. I hope you don't mind. I just wanted to wait until some people came in so I wasn't just yet talking to myself like I'm talking to myself up here in front of a camera with a bunch of people out there. I love you all. Hey DJ, good to see you. Excuse me. Anything new in the case? Yeah, Vivian. Yeah, there's some new. I would call it some progress in that sense. They do it in such subtle ways in front of the media, but yeah, it's shifted. So I guess you would call a shift an update in that sense. I would. That's why I'm talking about it a little bit. It makes me sad in that sense. I'm not going to cry. What's going on, Roswell? I appreciate you, darling. Member for 32 months. Mwah. The video says it can't be played in the background. What are you talking about? What? Ah, yes, Chris. You're in the UK? Interesting times we live in. Is something wrong with the live? Try refreshing your screen, DJ. Are you smoking that ganja tonight? Yeah, I get fucked up like that too sometimes. Start asking chat, what's wrong? I was so stoned one time, I forgot I opened two different live streams, and it was fucking me up because there was an echo, two of them playing at the same time, and I couldn't figure it out. I'm like, does anybody else hear an echo? And I couldn't figure it out in chat. And it was convinced myself that it was somebody else that was echoing and not me just having two screens open. What a fucking moron. Yeah, that's what cannabis can do to you sometimes. It can make you extra stupid. Should put that on the package. Fuck, that was funny. You can see how that would happen. Just laziness, right? Sometimes you get so many things open you don't realize that, I'll keep that open because I'm going to watch that later. And you open it up again. Because you have like multiple YouTube windows open a lot of times, I've found. Maybe not if you're on mobile, you can't relate as well. But fucking stoners. Idiots I work with. So yeah, a lot of people are talking in the background. And I thought I'd point out how ironic it is. It's such bullshit. We're so brainwashed in that sense. The types of information, of course, are well studied, and they have people in positions at these federal agencies and municipal agencies that have great communication skills, probably have a major in it or a minor in it, right? And they get into these positions and they tell you the same old fucking shit. And what that bothers me the most is how they subtly discourage anybody out there talking about this sort of thing. We don't want you all talking about it. We want you to trust us, believe everything that we have to say at all points in time, and then turn around and then use it as a tool to spread their own sort of pressure in ways. And that's kind of what's occurring. Not kind of, I'll try to drop that, but that's what's occurring in the background, because now they've got all kinds of these police, former policemen, and it's no dig against these guys. These guys are entertaining and good, and so they're doing a good job, but the way that they're used, okay, the way that they use them in these circumstances, aren't sensitive to the lives of the people, or the lives of the people that they're trying to cover in that manner. They take the tone, they all of a sudden take an accusatory, a shifting tone, especially in Canada, I've noticed, but it's irregardless. So they've got these two dudes, the Canadian network, which is state owned, by the way. It's all owned by the government, the Crown, which is still tied to the global elites, right? Which, listen, have lied to you nonstop. That's not here nor there for this particular scenario, but it goes to show you that they're actively trying to discourage anybody from doing what it is that they should do to protect themselves and their family. And that applies in this particular case historically, because of the Mi'kmaq Nation that's involved in this scenario, the history and the distrust in the community over the lack of giving a shit by way and mandate of a federal agency of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, right? Now, I'm no Dale Lakeman out there for you guys who know him, who hates on the RCMP. I'm just talking about historical issues, probably that you guys aren't familiar with. They're in the US as well, but this is a little more centric to Canada in the East Coast in that sense. And all across, but we'll get into that in a moment. Oh, the Vivian, what are you saying down there? Hold on there. Don't go away. Is the cousin Daniel, that nosy cousin? No, I don't know. I think that after that, somebody said that they took down that interview as though it was something that you could take down from the internet after that. There's something about that. Now, who knows? That might be just people talking. There's a lot of bullshit talk in the back, none of which really stands out to me as something that's suspicious. Now, the media and everybody is putting on like, these cops are suspicious, and especially these former police that they had on, CTV and Global News. It's cool. We'll watch it in a second. You understand what they're doing, and they come in front and they tell you something that you're going to tend to agree with when it comes to being suspicious of the parents in the circumstance, or we'll call it not knowing the entire truth. It's so dystopian in its sense. They call it the RCMP. Where is this? They call it the truth, and this unit they have, the RCMP's Truth Verification Unit. Holy shit. That sounds like something right out of a fucking Chuck Norris movie, bro. The Truth Verification Unit. That's like a torture unit in medieval style. What kind of title is that? That's the kind of shit that happens up here in Canada, friends. Oh my God, that's terrifying. The Truth Verification Unit. That's what they call the unit that walks around with the and gives the polygraph examinations. Oh shit. It's a bit tongue in cheek, but really, come on. What's going on, Taze? Good to see you. Good to see you, brother. Shit. It sounds like something out of 1984 or Brave New World. Now, hold on. I'm not on a roll. I'm just laughing to myself. I'm just thinking of corny things to say. It's easy. The RCMP are an easy target, and you can always get people to laugh about that, except cops. You might not get cops to laugh at that shit. Maybe behind closed doors. Hold on. Let's see up here. Sounds like a psyop. Chris, we live in a psyop. You know what I mean? You live in the UK. You know what I'm talking about? Everything's fake. It's all a psyop. But that aside, so let's set the tone, friends, and welcome in. I'm going to pull up this. I've got a couple images I pulled from somebody else's video that I hadn't seen before. Everything's a psyop. Hey, Jude. I like this image, and I like this, so I'll give you the breakdown and the update, and it's going to be a tag because I'll use this as a trim point for an upload later. So people who haven't seen this don't have to listen to all of the fat and the crap of me talking beforehand. We'll get to the crux here in the point. So just give me a moment to grab myself a drink. Oh, shit. And I mean, we won't even get into polygraphs, Taze, but yeah, I'm watching, Chris. I'm watching what's going on over there. Let me see here. Good to see you, SR. And this is the front. This is the home of Jack and Lily Sullivan on your screen right now. In case you wanted a visual. Now, the disappearance of Lily and Jack Sullivan is marked by an absence of physical evidence, credible sightings, or breakthroughs, leading to a stalled investigation on the surface. However, behind the scenes, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police have employed advanced investigative techniques such as polygraph tests and device seizures, indicating a shift from a missing persons case to a suspicious disappearance. The case has garnered significant public attention, fueled by speculation, distrust of law enforcement, and the cultural context of systemic issues affecting indigenous communities. The date of the disappearance was May 2nd, 2025, from their home, reportedly on Gearlock Road. Their last confirmed sighting was on May 1st, 2025, with family members in public. Initial theory was that the children wandered off into the nearby woods, but this has been largely dismissed due to the lack of evidence. Current status is being treated as a suspicious disappearance with polygraph tests and device seizures targeting individuals close to the children. Now, the investigative scope involves 11 RCMP units, the National Center for Missing Persons, the Canadian Center for Child Protection, and provincial and municipal law enforcement. Some investigative developments. The RCMP's investigation has evolved significantly since the children's disappearance, moving from broad search efforts to targeted scrutiny of individuals within the household. The RCMP's Truth Verification Unit is actively involved, administering polygraph tests to individuals connected to the case. It's like a bunch of Maury Poviches running around. Daniel Martel, the stepfather, publicly confirmed he was the first to volunteer for a polygraph. Isn't that convenient? Claiming it was help move the case forward. It's not like you had a fucking choice anyway. You're going to go the easy way, or you're going to do this the hard way. Of course, you want to seem like you're helping, especially when you're put on the spot. Sometimes you just got to go with things. And we act every day. We're always acting, aren't we? Now, significance of that is, according to the policing expert Chris Lewis, was one of these gentlemen I was talking about, polygraphs are not administered to casual witnesses, but to those under suspicion. This dude says this shit on this dude says this on the nightly news. I think on Global. God damn it. That's fine. Polygraphs are not administered to casual witnesses, but to those under suspicion. That's highly suggestive. This suggests Daniel is a person of interest. Oh, isn't that worded so cleverly? Despite his claim of volunteering, RCMP's stance is that, well, they've not disclosed who was tested, how many tests were conducted, or the results, citing the need to preserve investigative integrity. Excuse me, the silence aligns with standard procedure, but also fuels speculation about young Daniel's status. So while polygraph results are not admissible in court, they guide investigations and investigative direction. Yeah, like, that's an incredible suggestion, or so I'm still hung up on this Lewis statement, or it's just a highly generalized statement. It's talking like a cop. It's just mind fucking with you. Now, that's what I think it is. They're mind fucking him on the nightly news to add stress in that sense. It's a way you can add stress, because now you're steering and controlling how everybody's talking. So the RCMP has not disclosed who was tested, how many tests were conducted, or the results, citing the need to preserve investigative integrity. It's just, maybe Daniel's trying to preserve his integrity as well by not telling you guys. This silence aligns with the standard procedure, but also fuels speculation about Daniel's status. While polygraph results are not admissible in court, they guide interrogations and investigative direction. Daniel's participation does not exonerate him. It confirms he is under scrutiny. We've noticed. So both Daniel and Malaya, who's the children's biological mother, had their cell phones confiscated under judicial authorization for forensic examination. Device seizures typically occur when investigators believe the devices may contain incriminating evidence, such as location data, deleted messages, or contradictions to statements. The seizures and polygraph tests appear to be part of the same investigative phase, suggesting the RCMP is cross-referencing digital evidence with polygraph responses. Oh, no digital breakthroughs have been announced, contributing to the case's lack of concrete leads. So when they're talking about the search efforts, initial searches covered 5.5 kilometers of rugged terrain involving hundreds of searchers, police dogs, helicopters, and drivers. Targeted operations resumed on May 8th, 9th, 17th, 18th, 31st, and June 1st of 2025. No physical evidence, for example, clothing, shoes, or backpacks, as mentioned, DNA, or signs of struggle was found. A single boot print near a pipeline was inconclusive. Hundreds of hours of video footage from Gearlock Road, April 28th through May 2nd, showed no trace of the children leaving the home or an unfamiliar person entering. The absence of evidence has ruled out wandered off theory, shifting focus to a criminal scenario. 488 tips have been received, but none have led to breakthroughs. Well, what the fuck is a breakthrough technically? It's just a word. Surely in 488 tips, you've got all kinds of questions. It's better than no tips. Now, the public is urged to provide video footage from Gearlock Road between April 28th and May 2nd, 25, and to submit tips directly or anonymously via Nova Scotia Crime Stoppers. I don't trust Crime Stoppers, but I guess who else are you going to call? Anyway, I'm sure there's other people you can call. No, because through Crime Stoppers, they probably have all their expensive fucking electronic gear hooked up to trace you and scope you out and come back and surveil you 10 times over and all your relatives. Hold on. I got Raiders in the cupboard. Excuse me. So the focus on Danielle Martel. This Daniel Martel, the stepfather, is a central figure in the investigation, with his actions, statements, and circumstances drawing significant attention, friends. As noted, Daniel volunteered for a polygraph and had his phone seized, aligning with RCMP actions targeting those under suspicion. His public disclosure of the polygraph contrasts with the RCMP's silence, suggesting he may be attempting to shape public perception. Daniel has given interviews to small YouTube channels and community-driven platforms expressing grief, frustration, and a desire to focus on the children. He emphasizes his cooperation, stating, "I just want everybody to focus on the kids." His statements are described as measured, logical, and controlled, lacking the raw emotion expected from a grieving parent. Well, he's the stepdad. This has raised questions about his sincerity. By avoiding major news outlets, and I don't think he actually is avoiding major news outlets. Like, what does he want? Barbara Walters? Like, who do you fucking want? Geraldo? Like, who do you consider major in that sense? I mean, you've got him on the 6 o'clock news, the 10 o'clock news. Anyway, by avoiding major news outlets, Daniel appears to be curating his public image, fostering sympathy while dodging tough questions, kind of like the Proudfoots. Oh, shit. People do it in different ways, but it's all, in the end, the same. He subtly shifts focus to Malaya, hinting at her odd behavior without direct accusations. What is it you're insinuating there, Daniel? What is it you're trying to say? It would be a bit bizarre. She just up and fucking left you, deleted you off Facebook, and you don't have anything to say about it? Sayonara. You're not happy? You're sad? I mean, you just had a baby together. So the question has to come back to just a bit of a side note here. Daniel has other kids that he doesn't have. I don't know if he's able to see them or when the last time he saw them was. So maybe he's not exactly used to living in a home with so many people in that sense. It would have been stressful on him. I don't know. I'm not saying that he's done anything, but I've wondered it. By avoiding major news outlets, I've read that. So he subtly shifts focus to Malaya, hitting on her odd behavior without direct accusations, a tactic interpreted as defensive psychology to redirect suspicion. So Daniel lost custody of his biological daughter, Meadow, shortly after the disappearance, suggesting Child Protective Services had concerns about the home environment. So I mean, he's lost all access to his child and can see. It's so bizarre. You think that he would be saying something about that in front of the camera? Because the easiest way to deal with an unfair system is to hold it accountable, drop some truth bombs if you're truly in a position to. Anyway, he describes himself as alone in a once crowded house. I hate that band. With nothing but time to just think, reflecting possible depression or a shift in self-identity. His statements aim to portray him as a caring, stable father, distancing himself from blame and seeking public validation in front of the camera. So the polygraph, device seizure, custody loss, and timeline inconsistencies got Don Wells. The polygraph, device seizure, custody loss, and timeline inconsistencies, example being the last to see the children, mark Daniel as a serious person of interest. Better start talking, chump. His public appeals and controlled demeanor suggest a calculated effort to maintain innocence, though they also deepen suspicion due to their lack of emotional depth. His claim of knowing as little as anyone else conflicts with his proximity to the children and the investigative focus on him. Yeah, that's a bullshit line, pal. His claim of knowing as little as anyone else, that's a circular comment. Only the detectives are allowed to ask you those. Now, while Daniel is the most prominent figure, other household members, particularly Malaya, are also under scrutiny. Now, Malaya's, who is the biological mother, has remained largely silent with minimal public statements or media appearances. Her phone was confiscated, indicating she is part of the investigative focus. Daniel's mother reportedly noted Malaya seemed off, quote unquote, and secretive after the disappearance, raising questions about her behavior or knowledge. While less visible than Daniel, her device seizure suggests she is not excluded from suspicion. And there's also now Cody, who is the biological father, has been interviewed by the RCMP, but there is speculation he may face similar scrutiny. He's less discussed than Daniel, but his status as the biological father places him within the investigative lens. If family conflict or custody disputes are factors, Cody's role could become more significant. Now, I wonder what sort of relationship Daniel and Cody have now that Daniel has a new baby Meadow with his ex-old lady. That, he might not be all that able to, he might not be able to handle scenarios like that as well as other people. So the RCMP is likely to interrogate other household members more thoroughly, examining contradictions or gaps in their statements. If evidence suggests intentional concealment, they could face charges like obstruction of justice or conspiracy. The absence of physical evidence is a defining feature of the case, contributing to its complexity and haunting nature. No clothing, shoes, backpacks, DNA, blood, or signs of struggle were found in the home, yard, or surrounding areas, which is the woods, septic tanks, wells, mines, culverts. Hundreds of hours of footage from Gearlock Road showed no children leaving or strangers entering. No signs of decomposition or biological markers, blood, urine, or other fluids were detected. A single worn boot print near a pipeline was inconclusive and not linked to the children. The clean crime scene suggests either a meticulously planned act or that the children never left the home on foot. This supports theories of an inside job or concealment within the household. So there's been a major shift from the wandered off to suspicious disappearance at this point, friends. The initial theory that Lily and Jack wandered off has been effectively ruled out, leading to a significant investigative pivot. So the reasons for this are as follows. There's absolutely no evidence. There's no footprints, trails, or belongings supporting the theory. The geography, the rural but accessible area, makes it unlikely two young children could vanish without being seen. Witness absence. There's no neighbors, passers-by, or drivers reported seeing the children on May 2nd. A surveillance failure with functional cameras captured no trace of the children leaving. And there's a Micmac perspective. An elder emphasized that Lily, 6, would not have let Jack, who's 4, stray into the woods, and cries would have been heard. The RCMP's stance is CPL Gilliam Tremblay stated that missing persons cases are treated as suspicious until proven otherwise. That's how it should be. Yeah, but that's never how it ends up. It's all good in talk from the RCMP in that sense. Now, criminal scenarios, the investigation now explores abduction, intentional concealment, or foul play within the home. Oh, that'll give people plenty to speculate about. Polygraphs, some of the investigative tools that have applied to this scenario so far are some polygraphs, the device seizures, the national agency collaboration indicate a serious criminal investigation. So the RCMP's June 11th, 2025 update marked a tonal shift, confirming polygraph use and focus on targeted individuals. With the wandered off theory dismissed, the investigation focuses on criminal abduction scenarios, particularly those involving someone within the home. So we can go through, let's talk, well, the theory of the stranger abduction, the implausibility, no surveillance footage, eyewitnesses, or signs of forced entry, like a broken lock or damaged doors, overturned furniture, support a stranger entering the home. A stranger abducting 2 children from a house with 7 residents without noise or detection is nearly impossible. Caveat, though, a stranger with a pre-existing family connection, like a prior visitor, could have had access, especially if aided by someone inside. So the plausibility of a familial abduction, a known individual like a family member or trusted person could enter without suspicion, know the home's layout, and lure the child away quietly, or children in this case. There's no struggle, noise, or coercion suggesting the children trusted the person. The absence of external evidence points inward. The evidence alignment. No struggle, noise, or coercion suggests the children trusted the person. That's the familial abduction, someone within the family. Key figures: Daniel, the last to see the children, polygraph, device seizure, and potentially Cody, interviewed possible. Scrutiny are central. Malaya's device seizures also implicates her into being key figures into this scenario. Some of the motives are as follows. Potential motives include custody disputes, revenge, covering up prior incidents, example, abuse, neglect, or a distorted sense of projecting the children, or protecting the children, a distorted sense of protecting the children. Easy for me to say. So inside the home's crime scene, the lack of external evidence, footprints, surveillance, and struggle suggests the abduction occurred inside the home. No household member reported hearing noises or disruptions, implying that the act was quiet and orchestrated by somebody with access. Polygraphs, the RCMP are focused on their polygraphs, device seizures, and custody removals target those inside the home, reinforcing this theory. Now, complicity, the collective silence of 7 household members raises the possibility of multiple people knowing or suspecting the truth but not speaking due to fear, loyalty, or shame. Probably all 3. So talk a bit about the cultural and systemic context of the case. This case is deeply intertwined with systemic issues affecting indigenous communities, particularly the Micmac and Canada's historical failures. So the Micmac community perspective is the wandered off theory is rejected. An elder dismisses the wandered off theory, citing Lily's protective nature and the improbability of silent disappearance in the cold, damp woods. They brought up family inactivity. The Brooks family, which is Malaya's lineage, known for hunting and tracking expertise, did not actively search, raising suspicions they knew the children weren't in those woods. In a cultural context, the Brooks family's guarded nature and distrust of police stem from a historical resistance to authority in unresolved cases like Tanya Brooks' 2009 murder. Now hold on for a second. Who is Tanya Brooks? Give me a moment, please. Just a second. I've got to search. So let's keep that thought in your head. So child protection, the elder highlights the 60s scoop and the millennium scoop, where indigenous children were disproportionately removed from families. Hiding children is seen as cultural survival, not criminality. The family's silence may reflect protective instincts rather than guilt, complicating the investigation. More systemic failures. One, this is one that I keep thinking about, and that's the no Amber Alert. That tells me that the RCMP aren't even concerned about it in that scenario yet. Their main focus is inside the house. The RCMP's decision not to issue an Amber Alert, citing insufficient abduction evidence, ignored cultural nuances and fueled perception of indifference. Halting the ground search after 5 days despite no findings was seen by the Micmac community as abandonment. Transparency issues, sparse, vague updates and evasive briefings, for example, a May 7th press conference with unrelated preamble, deepened distrust. And there's a biased perception. Many believe a non-indigenous affluent family would have prompted a more urgent, transparent response. Historical parallels, cases like Helen Betty Osborne in 1971 and Robert Picton's victims highlight systemic neglect of indigenous missing persons. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission's limited scope, excluding police government accountability, underscores ongoing reconciliation failures. That's just all bullshit. They want to say sorry for genocide. Now, the disproportionate removal of indigenous children fuels distrust, as seen in Daniel's custody loss and the elders' accounts of arbitrary seizures. The RCMP's next moves are likely to intensify scrutiny on the household, given the lack of external leads. More in-depth questioning of household members to uncover the contradictions or gaps. These are future investigative steps by the RCMP. Device analysis, which is forensic examination of seized phones, computers, may yield location data, messages, or media contradicting statements. Now, compelling evidence would lead to formal charges with potential detention if suspects risk destroying evidence or fleeing. Mounting public pressure may prompt a significant update or naming of persons of interest. Other residents may face charges like obstruction or conspiracy if evidence suggests intentional silence. That's household scrutiny. Geographic expansion. Critics argue for a broader searches, example, highways, border crossings, though the RCMP's focus remains local. So the Sullivan's case is a complex interplay of investigative challenges, cultural trauma, and systemic inequities. Below are some key points. Hold on. Analytical points. Let me scroll all the way down. No, hold on. That's just a synopsis of what I just read. So let me see. The disappearance of Lily and Jack Sullivan is a haunting mystery marked by a void of physical evidence, a narrowing investigative focus on the household, and deep cultural complexities. The RCMP's shift from a wandered-off theory to a suspicious disappearance, supported by polygraphs and device seizures, points to a criminal act, likely orchestrated within the home. Daniel Martel's prominence as a person of interest, combined with the household's collective silence, suggests a web of secrecy or fear obstructing of the truth. The case also exposes systemic failures and the lack of an Amber Alert premature search termination. And evasive communication reinforce indigenous communities' distrust of authorities. The Micmac perspective highlights how historical trauma, particularly child welfare practices, may drive family silence as a protective act. Until the RCMP breaks through the silence, whether through digital evidence, interrogations, or community collaboration, the question remains, where are Lily and Jack? The investigation's next steps will likely intensify scrutiny on Daniel and Malaya, with other household members, with potential charges looming if evidence emerges. However, without cultural sensitivity and transparency, the RCMP risks further alienating the community, perpetuating a cycle of injustice. The Sullivan case is not just a mystery, it's a call for systemic change, demanding that Indigenous lives be prioritized with urgency, empathy, and accountability. So the Micmac elders' perspective on the disappearance of Jack and Lily Sullivan, as it was presented, provides a culturally grounded, critical viewpoint that challenges the wandered-off theory and situates the case within the broader context of Indigenous trauma and systemic distrust. We just really went over that, didn't we? Let me go see what you guys had to say. What's going on, Kip Rich? Good to see you, girl. Well, I don't know. We don't know that to be true in that sense. We don't know that there to be. A lot of people are talking about it. Look, Dolly's over there talking about it. I haven't really noticed. Maybe I'm slipping. I don't know, bro. A case in point is that the Madeline McCann and her paranoid to the social class. Yeah, there's also that too. The Madeline McCann situation. We scroll up a little bit. Good to see you, Shay. Find Summer's Truth. What's going on, Soldier Girl? Good to see you, girl. Let me see. Sweet tea. Hello, hello. Yeah, Chris Watts. Oh my God. Oh my God. So what do you guys think? Let me go find. I think I've got this pulled up. No, I don't. Or do I? Yes, I did. Got to show you this cop. Got to show you how funny this cop is. We got to send up Chris McDonough in this scenario. Let me see here. It is. So this is 22 hours ago. This is from CTV. This is corporate, state-owned media. It's crap. It's shit. But we want to see the comments. Oh, that's just something. Look at these guys. Why aren't you guys just so fancy? Let me see. Oh, am I on the right one? I thought I was.
Todd, Lily Sullivan and her younger brother Jack were last seen in May, and since then investigators say they've chased down every lead. RCMP confirmed they've spoken with 54 people, conducted polygraph tests, and have received close to 500 tips. But yet, there's still no sign of the siblings. Jack and Lily's stepfather says he was the first to volunteer for a polygraph, hopeful it would help the search and ease public speculation.
I know it would be a big help in the case and kind of narrow down maybe some of the speculations and just provide more evidence.
He's just mimicking what the cop told him. Isn't that what you would think the cop would tell you when he came and knocked on your door, told you to get the fuck to the station? Get yourself hooked into that medieval torture device. Yeah, it's a beautiful place. You could go park there. Probably can park right in the front driveway. Hang out. His mobile broadcast center. Yeah, is that he just learned of the case? Did he, Soldier Girl? Oh, from the lab after dark, Josh. Howdy, Josh. His lap dog. Isn't that what people are calling him? Oh, I don't know about that. Well, that's a different conversation for me. I better stay out of that one right now. I'm not sure if that's true, actually. Let me see here.
Daniel Martel says during the polygraph test, he was asked several things, including whether or not he was involved in the disappearance.
Like, how many times are you going to get up in front of a camera and not figure out about polygraph tests yet, Mrs. Media Woman? Like, they ask you the same set of questions on every fucking polygraph test. It doesn't matter if you're a monkey, if you're a human. Okay? It's the same set of questions. And it all centered around, did you have anything to do with the blank, fill in the blank, this particular disappearance, this murder, this blackmail, this whatever they want to ask you. All right? Jesus Christ. It's like they love to keep people brainwashed in a certain sense of lull. Oh, we'll do the thinking for you. What's going on, Nasty? Good to see you, brother. We'll do the thinking for you, people at home. Or take these safe and effective vaccines.
parents of the children. He says both his cell phone and that of his estranged wife were confiscated and searched by investigators. This and weeks of interviews, there still hasn't been a major break in the case. And for their stepfather, the silence inside the once busy home is deafening.
Going from a family.
So you get in front of the camera and you say the same old cookie cutter fucking things. You see it time and time again with parents, even the people who bring you the news. It's like being on the Wheel of Fortune with the RSTLNE thing. You have to go through the motions. And that's exactly what he's doing, going through the motions, telling people what it is that they want to hear. They want to see some tears. They want to see this. They want it to play out. Look, the last thing you're going to do is get in front of the camera and throw down any truth bombs, especially in a situation like this. Don't expect them to tell the truth. So now they've got the cops up here, old man cops, insinuating that, oh, they're really highly suspicious. It's the way that these cops are putting on pressure using the mainstream corporate fucking media and doing the shit that they tell you all out there not to do at all times. At some point, you're going to have to speculate or you're not going to get anywhere. All right. Yeah, it's heavily propagandized, sweet tea. It's just that it's so sick of it. Somebody's got to start talking about it, right? Fuck you, corporate media. I'm not the only one. But I mean, it's sometimes hard to discern when you're in a state of mind like people are in a situation like a missing child's case. Daniel knows what to say in that sense. But what are you going to say? What else are you going to say? What are you going to do? If somebody, it's like it being in a job interview in a way, or going into a meeting, you go through the motions, you do the professional thing, right? You tell them what they want to hear. It's okay not to remember things, especially for a person who wants to forget a lot of shit in the moment. It's easy to justify bullshit.
It's 7 to just me. I mean, I have nothing but time to just think.
Now, who knows what they asked them? Like, they've used these little clips, right? And just placed them in a sequence. We all know how they do it, but we can speculate on that. Who knows how she asked it, but it seems rather centric on yourself. But, they choose what to put in front of you, right? It's not Daniel up here playing this video for you and this is my message to the world. No, this is the mainstream media putting these little snippets. They go and they ask Daniel the same fucking questions, pardon my French, pardon my Acadian for those on the East Coast. So it's hard to really form an opinion against them in this circumstance. Even though that we're highly suspicious of them, we're just not privy to any of the actual information yet. We can speculate all day long based upon the fact that when kids go missing and people aren't acting right, it's really easy to tell by the way that they lead on and bullshit. And it's not directly through admissions that you're suspicious of the things that they did. It's the indicators along the way. And we love to speculate over all of the indicators, whether it be micro expressions on your face. It could be a hair blew your fucking nose hair one way and somebody would think you're guilty. It comes with the territory. And it might all be crazy, and it is, but you're going to have to go with the roll or go with the flow in that sense. Idiot stoner. Let me see. Hey, Mary, good to see you. Chris M. Oh. I don't know. I mean, it just baffles me, to be honest with you. How long Summer's case baffles me in that sense. How it is that their behavior isn't suspicious in that degree. I've never seen people care for kids less than I have Don and Candace. Holy shit. My God. My God. It's hard to get my mind from Jack and Lily to Summer sometimes. I don't want to jump over, but I can. It's not baffling to me. It's not baffling to us. Everybody is suspicious for the right reasons. Don't be fooled. At what point have those parents ever been accountable or answered any questions or talked directly about the case in an honest way? Not once ever. Not once ever. Don't expect it. In fact, they come to social media to build a false narrative. So everybody would have something to talk about as opposed to all of the facts in their situation. And God bless Andrew Hiltz. He brought all kinds of unintended consequences to Summerwell's case. That's actually been a benefit to a degree, because he's a loose cannon who makes you ask more accurate questions because, like it or not, he has an attachment or association to the case. He might be the biggest douchebag, but there is some usefulness to him. It's just too bad that he likes to play with people's, minds and emotions. By the way, if Mama Bear, you're out there listening, at some point, this Amber Lee gal that you brought up to me the other day. So this whole 4-hour fucking clip that you sent me, please, you need to get a microphone, by the way. No way I was going to listen to that whole thing. So I put it through Grok. And at no point did Grok ever bring up what it was that you were trying to tell me. At no point did he even mention Amber Lee in the analysis of that transcript. So I'm like, what in the actual, what is going on? Were you putting me on the other day? Were you messing with my mind, girl? Let me see. Let me know in the comments, Mama Bear, when you're watching this later or whenever. I'm like, thank fucking God I didn't put myself through listening to 4 hours of that, because it's like she's speaking through a microphone. It's like a microphone in a tin can that's far away. I don't know if she notices or even gives a shit. Can't understand what the hell you'd be saying. Listen, if Google Translate can't pick you up, there's going to be a problem. And a lot of it wasn't picked up on the translate, so it didn't go on to the actual transcript itself. So I guess it's quite possible that you were talking about it and the Google couldn't decipher what you were saying, and I missed it. I guess it's possible too. But I mean, no matter what Daniel says in this circumstance, one, at least it's something. People will always find something wrong with it. And of course we will. We are here tonight. Like, I mean, what the fuck did you think? And your answers aren't good enough for what you were exactly doing and what was going on in the moments leading up. It's not like we were sleeping and it happened while we were asleep. We're sawing logs. Like, at what... You were like, it's shifted a little bit. You're drifting in and out of consciousness. The kids were in the room. They were out of the room. Nobody seemed to really have a definitive answer to that. That's a little sketchy. But what does confused sound like? We all go off the things that we think that we know after we watch something sometimes.
RCMP insists this is still very much an active investigation. They're reviewing surveillance footage and following digital evidence, but the emotional toll has already left its mark on Martel, including the loss of custody of his daughter, Meadow.
I haven't even got to see my own kids, not even Meadow yet. But I'm still hopeful. I have supervised visits coming up that are granted by...
So, I mean, this statement to me, first of all, I fucking probably wouldn't have ever said that on the news. It's like, what are you saying? You're saying that they took your kid? Like, I mean, I don't think that he even knows. I don't think he's probably familiar with the law in that sense. It's just all of a sudden they've They actually physically took custody away from you. Like there's a paper out there that says you signed over your custody to the state in that sense, or to the crown. That's so fucking bizarre. That's a whole story in of itself. What in the hell is going on? What would make them take your kid away? Was it the mother? Is she saying something? Got a whole sect of childish bullshit drama here that we're not seeing. Like drugs make you stupid, no doubt. Yeah, but you know what, Chris? He's not an academic, but I don't think he's playing it. Is he playing it up a little bit? Like, what is it he's saying? Why would you give people a hook like this? And in a way, he's making himself look like he's being given a hard time or an unreasonable situation. Well, you're talking to us like we know all this already. Like, what the hell is going on to have you give up your rights to your child? It has to be. They're right. There has to be some concern with stuff that's going on in the home, coming from probably Malaya's words. Oh, fuck. Well, until there's agreement, custody is a bit of a gray area in that. So I keep thinking, am I misunderstanding this? Like, if Malaya took the child out of the home, I guess technically he doesn't have custody of the child at that moment. Not that there's a legal, like he's still on the birth certificate. But until CPS or Children's Aid comes in and makes you sign over your rights, that's a whole different thing. That's another level. Now I'm screwing myself up.
But I'm still hopeful. I have supervised visits coming up that are granted by CPS. My own kids.
Loss of custody of his daughter, Meadow.
I haven't even got to see my own kids. Not even Meadow yet. But I'm still hopeful. I have supervised visits coming up that are granted by CPS.
The children's stepfathers.
First of all, I don't think it's called CPS in Nova Scotia. So it tells me, yeah, I don't know. That's a bit gray. Like, it's only coming from him. We don't know anything. They're not going to talk about it. Holy shit. Hold on for a second. Had to go throw the lock on my freezer. It's getting raided. Yeah, they have to have a reason, but it's difficult. They have to have a reason, you would think. Like, he's saying they're keeping me from my kids in that sense. But he can see them on a supervised access. So there's probably nothing set in stone. Like, I mean, it's just a protective thing until things go through the process of further investigation. Oh, that's shitty for them.
Says he's grateful to the investigators and to people who continue to share tips, even if none have yet led to finding Jack and Lily. Until then, over a month later, the family continues to remain hopeful that the children will return home safe. Todd?
Right, House of RF. 6-year-old Lily Sullivan and her 4-year-old brother Jack were reported missing from their Lansdown Station home in rural Pictou County on May 2nd. Since then, RCMP have launched an extensive investigation, and today police offered an update and detailed look at what's been done so far. But still, RCMP won't say if they've identified any persons of interest, suggesting that might compromise the current investigation, but did say they've conducted polygraphs.
The truth verification unit is engaged. There's multiple facets to those investigations, and those experts are
Don't make me send in the truth verification unit on you, bitch.
examining every question and answer that those individuals are providing. And it could guide the investigation.
Police have collected hundreds of hours of video from the area and have interviewed 54 people in all.
Oh my God, I can't
Received
keep this girl out of my
488
freezer.
tips. As for the search, they say they've scoured the Sullivan children's home, including outbuildings, septic systems, wells, mine shafts, and culverts, and have seized multiple devices and materials. But police couldn't say if that extensive search and investigation work has led to any new evidence.
The information gathered to date, it has not identified any new search areas at this time.
What's most significant is the administering of polygraph tests, says CTV's policing expert and former OPP polygraph examiner, Chris Lewis.
You don't do polygraph tests and waste that resource on people that just maybe saw something, heard something, or is a real remote suspect. That's not the way it works. So if they're doing polygraph tests and examinations on people, those are people that they may well suspect have been involved in some way or for whatever reason aren't being honest.
Police say the missing person investigation continues, and they are following all tips and ask anyone who may have information to contact Crime Stoppers. Jesse Thomas, CTV News.
Like, I mean, that's kind of a funny statement. At first, you're like, "Ooh, is that the cop telling them that they're really suspicious of these parents now in front of everybody in a nice way?" Well, why else would you be using a polygraph on somebody if there wasn't some sort of suspicion on them? Doesn't that kind of go without saying? Man, oh man, so fucking bizarre. These guys. What else do they got out here? Oh, CTV Morning. What a bunch of bullshit. Nova Scotia RCMP determining the next step 3 weeks ago. They're trying to figure that out, are they? Well, I'm sure they are. Let's see here. 23 hours ago. This is one of the ones I was talking about. This dude is funny.
If this is not a criminal investigation now, I'd be totally surprised.
It's been almost 6 weeks since Lily and Jack Sullivan were first reported missing from their home in Lansdown Station. On Wednesday, the RCMP in Nova Scotia said many RCMP units, including major...
Yeah, we can't have one of our cops say that, but we can have a former cop say that. They probably have him on payroll already to come out in front of the media and do things. Because you can put a lot of pressure on the family at key moments in this situation, which is probably a tactic.
Major crime are involved in the investigation, along with the National Center for Missing Persons. Police say they formally interviewed 54 people in their search, and this former Halifax regional police officer doesn't take that lightly.
They're out there, and the only way they're going to see or get results in this is to be out there talking to people, looking at videos, looking at topography and what have you, and so on. They're not in offices doing this by a laptop. Let's put it that way.
In an update this week, the RCMP say they've collected hundreds of hours of video from areas surrounding Lansdown Station between April 28th and May 2nd, when the kids went missing, and have received nearly 500 tips from the public. Police say they've searched every aspect of the family's home and received authorization to seize and examine devices.
They'll go on the balance of probabilities based on the area that we fully searched with a lot of people. We can't find any evidence, be it a backpack, a shoe, or whatever. We can't find the kids. If you can't find them, somebody has to say enough is enough right now for searching those areas. So now we move to where? There's only one other option. A nefarious take to this. In other words, a criminal type thing.
Man, this guy, I like this guy. Oh, shit. Where did you find this guy, man? Wow. Fuck, I've been thinking about that. The first thing. Fucking kids walked away. Who took them? This guy. Reminds me of my dad. I think that's why. Oh, gosh.
Areas. So now we move to where? There's only one other option. a nefarious take to this. In other words, a criminal type thing. That's only my personal opinion.
Police say they've used polygraph tests in some interviews. This former polygraph examiner south of the border says the test is used to monitor how a person's nervous system responds to certain questions.
If somebody is successful in the test, then not that they're being eliminated, but they'll spend more time on people that are not successful. Not passing the test doesn't mean you're guilty or you're involved. It simply means that there's some issue there, maybe some knowledge, guilty knowledge.
Moriello says he's seen people pass tests
See you,
who were
Donnie.
later proven guilty. More than 160 search and rescue volunteers have scoured through the dense.
You know, God bless Global News. At least they're not like CTV in that sense. Like this guy at least brought up some dude to let people know more of a reality about the polygraph, because so many people have a distorted view of its purpose in these situations, and build their opinion based around whether or not somebody passed or not. And that's just ridiculous. It's not an easy button in that circumstance. And God bless this particular reporter for bringing that to you. You should just quit there, though.
Densely wooded area surrounding the children's home, but only a small boot print was found. Police continue to refer to the case as a missing persons investigation.
They're covering it all, everything they can. And you only do that in depth when there's a criminal investigation with major crime on scene. They're not there just because they're major crime. They're there to do their major crime work.
Mitchell Bailey, Global News, Halifax.
Any reason to get them up there and start talking just all peaches and cream about a federal agency. I wonder which one of these son of a bitches are on the take. All of them. Right? That's what they're doing. Oh, just get up there and make us look. Oh, just an old man. It's that doctor in a lab coat and a stethoscope effect. Man, any reason to talk so highly of the RCMP, especially in a situation where there's so much distrust. It's just a bunch of people justifying their job. Let me see. So we had to get this asshole to tell us that. Come on now. We had to get him to tell us that. I like that clip, though. There's another one with a cop in it. Did we just watch that one? Yeah. There's a vigil. Let's see. He was at the vigil.
Tonight is about saying a prayer, and we're going to light the way home for them.
A paper lantern for 4-year-old Jack, another for 6-year-old Lily, released into the twilight sky as a beacon of hope.
Illuminate the path for Lily and Jack. Guide their footsteps home.
One by one, people placed candles, teddy bears, and angels outside the Stellarton RCMP detachment, a growing memorial as many questions are still unanswered.
Investigators remain committed to exploring all possibilities surrounding the children.
What? You're crazy, Vivian. Do you know how close they are? You know how close they are to solving this? I'd say they're pretty close. Considering that as soon as you're suspicious over somebody not being truthful, it's easy if you're actually doing police work and are meaningful in the interview stage. If they're fucking lying about something, it's going to be easy to catch them up on it. All the investigation is an investigation into their drama and lives to figure out what the fuck is going on in their lives, so you can find out a whole bunch more about them than they know that you know. And you get in there in the interview room and you hang that over their heads and you get them set up, get them lying to you. And then you're in Lake Flint. And we're going to find out what happened to these kids. I can feel it. We're going to find out one way or the other. Like, let's just say that we don't. Well, then we can, like, if it really was a stranger abduction, a legitimate one. Like, but how do you rule them out in a situation like this? You know, not ever knowing would always, that's torture on the people that are innocent in all of this. Like, how can you actually really rule somebody out? Well, apparent in this circumstance. There's always going to be suspicion on them. They need to find those kids. It takes a little bit of time to build the case against them, but the case is really speaking for itself in this circumstance. At some point, it's going to be so encompassing, they're not going to have any place to run. Daniel will crack like a little baby. That's what he's crying about. You ever thought about that? That's what Daniel's crying about? You know, when you see him wince and show sorrow in that circumstance, he's a little concerned about the situation that he might be in. I'm not saying he's guilty. I might be insinuating it a little bit, but I'm just trying to get you to conceptualize. That's all. We're just talking about rumors. I'm not trying to misinform you in that circumstance, but it makes you wonder, right? Like, how is it that you're so sure that you could tell the difference? I try to do that with everything. Sometimes I get myself all fucked up. Like, I can tell. Sometimes I like to stay in that state of mind. I don't like to get too biased against somebody. That's happened in the past. Because then I can't talk about them anymore. It becomes hate speech, and it becomes a different thing. Like Don Wells, for example, Chris Proudfoot would fall into that. We talk about those douchebags all day, but you know, just start turning into that sort of foolishness. You're like, it's easy to show emotion in the circumstance, and it's easy to confuse the onlookers and mistake it for empathy or sympathy or true. First of all, what are you crying like a little bitch for? Like, what is it? Why are you crying in front of a camera? Always ask yourself that. Why is somebody crying in front of the camera? Always remember Letitia Staunch. Remember when she got in front of that camera and took two? She took, you know, her interview with the local news channel. And then after the first interview, she wanted to retake. And then in the second interview, she started bawling her eyes out. Oh, shit. Always running with trying to confuse you in the moment. But when you look back on all of these things, it stands out to you a lot more in hindsight, of course. Yeah, she is a disgusting woman. I had that in my mind. I couldn't believe that. True desperation.
Children's disappearance. We want to thank all those who provided tips and information. Please know that we're fully engaged in finding out what happened to Lily and Jack.
Some family members of the two children looked on as dozens of community members showed they care.
It's like every parent's worst nightmare. You don't ever want to have.
Bullshit. They all came down to talk smack behind Daniel's back. You hear me, Daniel? They're all there talking behind your fucking back. Whispering. I know what he did.
To ever go through something like this. And I think it's good to show them that their community is here for support if they need it.
Search and rescue volunteers have scoured a total of 8.5 square kilometers surrounding the children's home. The latest search happened this past weekend when crews focused on a pipeline trail where a boot print was previously found. Tell me what that's been like living here in this community and having to watch this unfold day after day.
It's hard because with Facebook, you're on Facebook.
Yeah, she's an attention getter. That's why. Yeah, Chris, the world's full of people like this woman. You out there, woman? You listening? You're out there. Why would you want to speak up in a situation like this in front of a fucking corporate media? You should have got in front of that camera and said, fuck her right in the pussy. Oh shit. Oh. Yeah, you know who they are. Busybodies. They're looking for a clip, right? Looking for a clip in 15 minutes. Excuse me, would you like to talk a little bit about how and why you're here today? Would you fuck yourself? Would you get the fuck up on out of here? I'll never ever forget. Well, those were different times, but they haven't changed much. No, I won't tell you that yet. Hold on, let's finish this. This is just a busybody, but I
Tell me what that's been like living here in this community and having to watch this unfold day after day.
Oh fuck! Please, are you a member of this community? There's like a population of 7 fucking people there. Let me tell you something, honey. Let me tell you something. The community doesn't trust you, the corporate media, doesn't trust those federal agencies out there, and they've got all kinds of reasons why. Legit reasons anybody can go and search. So here we go again in a scenario like this. How do we know it's not the fox guarding the hen house, baby?
It's hard because with Facebook, you're on Facebook every morning, check and see if there's an update.
No, you're on Facebook every morning there. Speak for yourself there, Jugsy.
You go to the RCMP site to see if there's an update, and then you hear about searches, and your heart just breaks every time because you pray that today will be the day that they bring.
Shut up. See this? They're always looking for that. This is hopium. False hope. They don't want you talking about the realities of the situation. Is there a crazed maniac out there fucking snatching kids out of the bush, eating them like they are down in Hollywood on a plate? You got them hooked up to some sort of fucking weird Monsters Inc. setup, sucking the adrenochrome out of them in Ukraine, biolabs. Hunter, showing up on Hunter Biden's laptop. Damn. What else do we got out there? Malaya has a mental breakdown, Dolly. That was last week. How do you know that? How does he know that? Does anybody know how Dolly knows that Malaya had a mental breakdown? What does that mean exactly? I don't know. I'm not saying I didn't watch. Maybe I did watch. Maybe I didn't. I don't know. Let me see. What else do we got out there? Holy shit. Do you guys want me to drop you the link on the Jack and Lully Spirit Box session? I'm sure you guys will all be dying to hear that. I'd like to kick whoever made that right in the testicles. Why don't you fuck off, pal? What is that? I don't even want to know the channel's name. I can't even believe that showed up. Spirit Box session. What? Talk about an abomination. Put spam or misleading. I'm reporting you. I'm a snitch. Biological father, court records, Lily and Jack Sullivan. So this bio father, Cody, got some court records on Cody. Look at the docs. Let's see the docs on Cody.
I have got a lot of questions regarding the biological father of Lily and Jack Sullivan. Who is he? Where is he? Why haven't we heard from him? And the list goes on. I have been digging into this for the past couple of days, and can finally bring you all the information I could find on him. Lily and Jack's biological father's name is Cody Lee Sullivan. There has been a lot of speculation surrounding him, with some claiming that his reason for not speaking out about his children's disappearance is because he is in prison. I can confirm that he is not in prison, and is awaiting an October 2025 court date. Cody was born in the year 1996, and as far as I know has 2 children, Jack and Lily. On Friday, June 21st of 2024, shortly after 8 p.m., a local resident was robbed of a high-priced item. The police received a complaint from an online marketplace seller. who stated they had met up with a purchaser at the agreed upon place, when the purchaser, who we now know was Cody Sullivan, produced a knife.
Fuck, we got a real Jimbo Collins here. So this Cody robbed somebody of a high-priced item. I wonder what it was. Who the fuck robs somebody with a knife, pal? You can tell this is like the east coast of Canada. What the frick is going on? Are you sure you didn't fucking rob him with a fishing pole? Like, would you take that seriously? What was it, an old man or something? How would you even take that seriously? How do you know it didn't come out of his tackle box? What the hell is he going to do? Doesn't know how to use that knife. If you get into a knife fight, boy, you're going to have to use your fucking hands. This Cody's probably not all that smart either. I'm taking it. Who the fuck robs people with a knife? What is this, like a 1970s Hollywood Dirty Harry movie? On Friday, June 21st, shortly after 8 p.m., police received a complaint from an online marketplace. Nobody should be robbing anybody, okay? Nobody should be robbing anybody in that sense, ever. In a perfect world. We don't live in a perfect world. So logic would tell you, well, is this what happens when they've got gun control in your country, friends? You come up with these sort of things. Actually, it's probably, knives are deadly and can be deadly, okay, in that sense. It's a real problem in the UK, isn't it, Chris? Could you imagine robbing somebody with a katana? Like a Japanese sword? That would be kind of fucking epic to see on like, you're not really going to use that. But it is scary. And in Canada, you can just probably ask the people at the gas station. Well, this is somebody. It wasn't a gas station. It was somebody with a... Why would you, if you wanted to rob it, why would you ask? Oh, because the person, it's a high-priced item. Okay, I get it. It's just me assuming that it's a car or something. Like, why would you even ask the person if you're going to steal it? Let me see. Friday, June 21st, shortly after 8, police received a complaint from an online marketplace seller who stated they had met with the purchaser at an agreed upon place, probably a set of Air Jordans. Purchaser produced a knife, demanded the merchandise, and then left the area in a pickup truck. Don't try that at home, kids. Holy mackerel.
The seller was able to get a description of the vehicle and its last known direction of travel, which enabled police officers to catch up with the suspect vehicle quickly. The merchandise was located inside the vehicle and returned to the seller. Thankfully, no one was injured during this incident. The suspect, Cody Lee Sullivan, was arrested and held in custody. The next day, the 22nd June, he appeared before a judge and was released on bail. Why he hasn't come out to speak about his missing children and plead to find them, I don't know. I don't know how involved he was in the raising of them. Something that online sleuths are pointing out is that Lily and Jack seem to be very close with the stepfather. In this picture, we can see them standing close to him instead of their mother. From someone claiming to be Daniel's friend, it was said that he does more for the children than their own mother. Tables are quickly turning, while he is getting more support, as he is the only one at this point, speaking to media and trying to work with police by staying at the property and allowing them to search wherever they want. The mother, on the other hand, has been missing in action. She left and has not pleaded for her kid instead of their mother. From someone claiming to be Daniel's friend, it was said that he does more for the children than their own mother. Tables are quickly turning, while he is getting more support, as he is the only one at this point speaking to media and
Do we have some sort of bizarre love triangle going on here, do you think? Some sort of weird, vindictive love triangle where they're using the children as pawns? I don't know. I'm really thinking ahead. That's forward thinking, I guess.
trying to work with police by staying at the property and allowing them to search wherever they want. The mother, on the other hand, has been missing in action. She left and has not pleaded for her kids to be returned, even though she thinks they've been kidnapped. It speaks volumes.
I don't know. It's hard not to be suspicious of them. It could be just because I'm growing biased in that sense. Look at the CBC talking about this. Oh, the search for the missing children focuses on the bootprint. Oh my God, the headline fucking news, CBC. They've just said there's, told you it was a red herring. They've all but kissed that theory away. There's just misinformation after the fact. See, we told you all not to speculate away. See how far you guys took it? See what they do to you in front of the media? And they turn around and blame you for it. As if they're in some sort of position to be telling you to do anything. A bunch of assholes. What are you saying there, soldier girl? Yeah, if he's robbing somebody on Facebook Marketplace, he's probably done that more than once, do you think?
Countless orange and pink ribbons marking grounds covered in the search for 6-year-old Lily and 4-year-old Jack Sullivan. The siblings have been missing from their Pictou County home since May 2nd. This weekend, searchers were back looking for some sign of the children, covering more ground and focusing on Gearlock Road near their home.
There was a fewer the higher probability areas around waterways and stuff like that we put teams back in around.
RCMP scaled back the search on May 7th and declined an interview today, but say they will review and assess this weekend's efforts to determine next steps.
Any investigation like this, they're going to start closest to the children and work their way out. From the physical search perspective and from the investigation, who had access to those children.
Saturday, around 100 search and rescue volunteers went over several square kilometers, and Sunday, more joined, about 115. Now the conditions are swampy terrain, dense forests, lots of bugs, and rain. Countless orange and pink ribbons marking grounds covered in the search for 6-year-olds.
So key points from the Micmac elders' perspective. We talked about rejection of the wandered off theory. And the elder considers it absurd that 6-year-old Lily and her 4-year-old Jack wandered off into the woods based on cultural intuition and lived experience. The elder asserts that Lily, as the older sibling, would not have allowed Jack to stray into the dense forest, especially in the cold, damp, early May weather, with recent snow reported nearby. If the children had entered the woods, their cries would have been audible, yet no sounds were reported. The elder suggests that given the weather, the children would more than likely have walked down the road where they would have been noticed. So the elder highlights the lack of active search involvement by the Brooks family, particularly Malaya's father, Henrik, a known expert in hunting and tracking. In a community where every second counts, the family's alliance and inaction raised quiet suspicion among locals. The elder implies that if the Brooks family truly believed the children were lost in the woods, their expertise in protective nature would have driven them to search relentlessly. Their absence suggests they may have known the children were not in the woods. The Brooks family, part of the Micmac-Paul lineage, is described as close-knit, guarded, and historically rebellious towards police and government authority. This distrust stems from past incidents involving family members, example, David, Brad, and Stanley Brooks, and the unresolved 2009 murder of Tanya Brooks, which symbolizes systemic neglect of Indigenous women. Well, that's an answer as to why Malaya isn't in the protection of her mother and shutting up, in my opinion. The elder frames the family's behavior within the legacy of systemic violence, with over 4,000 missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls officially acknowledged, the estimates suggesting that up to 11,000. More than that. This context shapes the family's protective instincts and reluctance to engage with authorities. The elder addresses the question of why a family might hide children, calling it insulting to Indigenous mothers. The answer lies in the 60s scoop and, quote, millennium scoop, government practices that disproportionately removed the Indigenous children from their homes under the guise of child welfare, often without justification, i.e. just because you're Native. Hiding children is seen as an act of cultural survival, not criminality. The elder shares accounts of Indigenous mothers losing children to the system for arbitrary reasons, for example, a father's suicide, reinforcing the fear of state apprehension. Within the Micmac community, it is understood that if children risk being scooped, families hide them, often with relatives, until they are old enough to avoid removal. The elder's blunt statement, "we would," encapsulates this fierce protective instinct. The elder's rejection of the wandered off theory aligns with the RCMP's shift to a suspicious disappearance, reinforcing the likelihood of criminal act within the home. The absence of cries or traces in the woods supports the theory that the children were taken quietly by somebody they trusted. The Brooks family inactivity and silence may reflect a culturally rooted response to systemic distrust rather than guilt. That's a strong argument right there, friend. The elder suggests the family might believe the children are not in the woods, possibly because they're hidden to avoid child welfare intervention or due to knowledge of a different fate. I'd say the latter of that. I don't think I don't know. Maybe there is, but why go? It doesn't make sense to me to go I think this is a legitimate missing child case in this scenario, personally. But it gives you something to mull over in your minds in this circumstance. But I think that they probably know a lot more into the business of this, well, certainly than we do. And they're just by not talking to anybody like the way that they are, looks a certain way to, on the surface, to anybody that looks at the case from the outside perspective. And the 99.9% of those people aren't people that could relate to individuals who live on a reserve or even know this particular aspect about their own history, whether they're white or they're Native. It's not the first thing people think about. So the fact that they brought this up is makes me think less than I was suspicious of Malaya a little bit earlier. However, she's not out of the woods yet in that circumstance. I don't think this is like a hiding of their kids. The Brooks family's inactivity and silence may reflect a culturally rooted response to systemic distrust rather than guilt. The elder suggests the family might believe the children are not in the woods, possibly because they're hidden to avoid child welfare intervention or due to knowledge of a different fate. They still lost Meadow at this point in time. This perspective complicates the investigation, as silence may stem from fear of losing more children to the system, loyalty or trauma, rather than complicity in a crime. The elder's reference to the Tanya Brooks case and the MMIWG crisis underscores why the Micmac community distrusts the RCMP. By the way, there's distrust towards the RCMP across the country. That's why they've got these guys up there on Global News and CTV with these little cop-like bits of them talking and making it look like they're so on the level with the rest of the community. Go fuck yourselves. The lack of an Amber Alert, early search termination, and vague updates in the Sullivan case echo patterns of neglect, fueling perceptions of indifference towards Indigenous lives. And again, that's a problem right across the country. In fact, it's been mandated that they treat these are kids. They've probably got to treat it a certain way because the fact that they are kids. If these were adults, you wouldn't even hear about this. People go missing off the reserve all the time and get murdered and killed, and they don't investigate because it's not their mandate in that sense. That's how they treat it. So these human beings aren't protected under the same laws as you and I. And their access to getting any sort of justice in a situation at any point in time is not there, making them extra vulnerable in society and essentially targets for psychopaths and sociopaths who make murder a sport. The elder's reference to the Tanya Brooks case and the MMIWG crisis underscores why the Micmac community distrusts the RCMP. The lack of an Amber Alert, early search termination, and vague updates in the Sullivan case echo patterns of neglect, fueling perceptions of indifference towards Indigenous lives. The family's guarded nature and historical resistance to authority likely hinder cooperation with investigations, citing a barrier to uncovering the truth. The elder's emphasis on the Scoop legacy frames the case within a broader struggle for Indigenous self-preservation. Hiding children is a rational response to a system that has historically torn families apart, suggesting the Sullivan disappearance could involve a protective act, example, concealment by family rather than foul play. It could be just the fact that nobody likes the RCMP and nobody wants to talk to them, especially the RCMP and the corporate media together in the same place. This perspective challenges non-Indigenous assumptions about family behavior, urging investigators and the public to consider cultural trauma when interpreting silence or inaction. The elder's perspective is powerful because it is rooted in lived experience, cultural knowledge, and a historical context. It provides a counter-narrative to the wandered-off theory, aligns with investigative evidence, example, no traces in the woods, and humanizes the family's silence as a survival mechanism rather than evidence of guilt. The elder's viewpoint does not directly address what happened to Lily and Jack, focusing instead on why the family might act protectively. While it explains silence, it does not clarify whether the children are hidden, harmed, or abducted, leaving investigative gaps. The RCMP must navigate the family's distrust and cultural instincts to elicit cooperation. Without cultural sensitivity, example, acknowledgement of the Scoop legacy, interrogations or public appeals may alienate the family further, prolonging their silence. The elder's perspective indicts Canada's child welfare and justice systems, highlighting how systemic failures, examples, no Amber Alert, unresolved Indigenous missing women cases, shape community responses. This demands a broader reckoning beyond the Sullivan case. So in conclusion, the Micmac's elder's perspective reframes the disappearance of Jack and Lily Sullivan as more than a mystery. It's a reflection of Indigenous resilience amid systemic oppression. By dismissing the wandered off theory, questioning the Brooks family's inactivity, and situating their silence within the legacy of the 60s and millennium scoops, the elder offers a culturally informed lens that challenges simplistic narratives. The family's guarded behavior may stem from a proactive instinct to shield children from a predatory system. Complicating the RCMP's efforts to uncover the truth. For progress to be made, investigators must approach the case with cultural humility, recognizing that trust is fragile in a community scarred by decades of injustice by the hands of the RCMP. Good luck with that happening. Until then, the elders' words, we would carry the weight of the community's survival strategy, urging us to look beyond suspicion to the deeper truths of trauma and resistance. Let me see. I thought I had another one pulled up here. So this Tanya Brooks, this would be Malaya's. They were talking about this Tanya Brooks, this 2009 unresolved murder. I looked into that a little bit, and this is what it said. The following. So Tanya Brooks was a 36-year-old Micmac woman from Millbrook First Nation, Nova Scotia. She was a mother of 5, and she was found murdered on May 11th, 2009. Oh my God. In a window well at St. Patrick's Alexandra School in Halifax's North End. Her case remains unsolved, with no arrests or charges despite ongoing investigations by Halifax Regional Police. Below is a concise overview of the key details related to who was involved or affected based on the provided search results in the context of the Sullivan case. So, Tanya was an Indigenous woman described as artistic, loving, and tenacious. With talents in drawing and poetry, she struggled with drug addiction, homelessness, and worked in the sex trade at the time of her death. Despite these challenges, her family emphasized her role as a devoted mother and a vibrant person. Police traced her last movements until approximately 9 p.m. I should rephrase that. Police traced her movements until approximately 9 p.m. on May 10th, 2009. She left the Gottingen Street Police Station at 6:20 p.m. or at 8:20 p.m. that evening and called her mother, Connie Brooks, to wish her a happy Mother's Day. Her body was discovered the next day at 2:17 to 2:20. She was at the cop shop a little earlier and she left and died? The fuck is up? Who was she in there with? Tanya was receiving threatening phone calls days before her death. As reported by her friend Karen Dux, she was scared but refused to involve police, saying, "I can't go down that route again." In March 2008, she survived a brutal assault by a drug dealer, Patrick Neil Segerts, who beat her with a metal pipe over 100 times, leaving her with physical and emotional scars. Oh my God. Her death had profound impact, described as a butterfly effect by her sister Vanessa, affecting her parents, siblings, children, and grandchildren. One of her sons died by suicide about 5 years ago, with her mother, Connie, passed away in 2015, with her death accelerated by Tanya's loss. I'm so sorry. Halifax Regional Police believe Tanya knew her killers and that there are people with information who have not come forward. A witness reported seeing Tanya walking hastily towards the school, looking over her shoulder at a group following her, but no police action was taken at this time. Oh, fuck. Despite being part of the Nova Scotia Department of Justice Rewards for Major Unsolved Crimes program, offering up to $150,000 for information leading to the arrest and conviction, no one has been charged in 16 years. Now, this prior incident involving Patrick Neil Seegerts, who assaulted Tanya in 2008, was sentenced to over 5 years for aggravated assault and robbery, but was not charged in her murder. There's no evidence linking him directly to the 2009 killing. Well, where the fuck was she getting her drugs from? And who does she owe money to? There's no evidence linking him directly to the 2009 killing, though his prior violence adds context to her vulnerability. Well, she's in a high-risk situation to begin with, but it seems like this one is pretty solid. So the family and community, Vanessa Brooks is her sister. Tanya's youngest sister has been a vocal advocate, organizing annual memorial walks and urging those with information to break your silence. She described Tanya as a loving, artistic person whose death continues to ripple across generations. Vanessa emphasized a respectful relationship with police, but expressed frustration at the lack of justice. Now, Connie Brooks, her mother, Connie was devastated by Tanya's death, which contributed to her own passing in 2015. Tanya's brain was withheld for investigation until 2017, fulfilling Connie's wish for her daughter's remains to be whole for burial in Mi'kmaq tradition. By the way, a little bit of a side note about this, what you're going to do with your body when you die thing. Let me tell you something. I was reading a story last week about a person who checked that box about donating their body to science after they passed. They thought that was a stand-up thing to do. That's just a fantastic thing to do as an American. Well, they sent it off to the Air Force for it to be blown up in a seat for testing. These are the kind of things that your body's going towards, testing, being a cadaver. I don't fucking think so, son. No, thank you. So it goes on to say, there's Stanley Brooks. So Stanley participated in the memorial walks and was known to look out for Tanya. These are all Malaya's. This is all Malaya's family. I'm reading. So Malaya must be a granddaughter of Connie in that sense. Or what's Malaya's mother's name? Anyway, Denise John, a victim support navigator at the Mi'kmaq Native Friendship Center. She's helped organize rallies for Tanya's case, stressing the need for public awareness to achieve justice. The Millbrook First Nation in Halifax's Mi'kmaq community hold annual memorials, including walks from police headquarters to the school site. The case is seen as part of the broader crisis of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls, with Tanya's death symbolizing systemic neglect. Now, the Special Investigations section of the Integrated Criminal Investigation Division, boy, that's a mouthful, Halifax Regional Police, continues to handle the case. Fuck, you guys get tired just pronouncing where you work? Tracing Tanya's movements and seeking public tips, they mark each anniversary with calls for information, believing the smallest detail could advance the investigation, or so they'll have you believe. So some key officers in this case is Constable Diane Penfound in 2017, John McLeod, great cop name, 2022, have publicly commented urging witnesses to come forward. Now, its connection in all of this, of course, is from the transcript I just read. The Sullivan case reference Tanya Brooks' murder as a painful symbol of systemic neglect toward Indigenous women was brought up by the Micmac elder in the circumstance. So just a little background on who she was, of course. Now, what's going on, Dina? I am getting out of here. I'm going to go cook me some dinner. I'm going to cook some burgers out on the barbecue tonight. So let me know what it is that you guys think down in the comments section below, friends. What's going on, Betty? Don't know anything about any school bus driver, Betty. But maybe call the cops. Ask them. But what I'll do is I will say good day to you all. Peace out. Peace in the Middle East. And I'll see you back again tomorrow morning. Friends, hit that thumbs up. Leave me a comment down below. Tell me what it is that you're thinking right now about this case. Peace.